Welcome to another edition of Here Come the Irish. Vic Lombardi and Ryan Harris. He's at looks like a bathroom at an airplane. And I'm doing this show broadcasting live from literally my parents' basement. This is my dad's office where I've lived here for a while, it seems. Just wait, you'll get to that point someday. I'll explain it to you, Ryan. But welcome back to the show. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Live here from the Charlotte airport. In between speeches, but so fired up for this matchup after the big win last week.
Well, Jim Small sent me this stat, and I found this very intriguing because it's been fun watching Notre Dame football because offensively, Notre Dame has been, one exciting game after another. 35 points now in 3 straight games. The last time Notre Dame has scored 35 in 4 or more consecutive games, that was back in 1943. Ryan,
Woo.
Been that long since this offense has gone off like that. That's offense.
And it's been done in many ways, right? Last week against Navy, Drew Pine throwing the ball to get started. At halftime, Vic, we were talking about the record set by my former teammate Brady Quinn for 6 touchdowns in a game. But make no mistake, Drew Pine is just one piece of the awesome offensive firepower that the Irish have. The run game has been spectacular. And I've seen it, Vic, even on the eyes of those who never want to quit. They give up seeing Audric Estime in the hole 3rd and 4th quarter.
Can you explain to us who watched that Navy game last week, what exactly happened in the second half? Was that a case of, this game is won, it's signed, sealed, delivered, let's just chill for a while? What happened in the second half?
Well, first and foremost, any game against the Naval Academy and service academies is tough because, one, they're extremely intelligent, arguably the most intelligent football players there are, and 2, they don't know how to quit. So what happened was Navy went into halftime, and they came out and decided to major in zero blitz, and that's something that the Irish had not seen all season, and it's something that only elite offenses know how to operate out of. To give you an example, only Ben Roethlisberger and Peyton Manning were the 2 quarterbacks that I played with who could audible to a play when they saw blitz zero, which means that everyone's coming except for the guy covering the corners. So what you have to do there is get rid of the ball quickly, maybe call a couple of screens. Make no mistake, you'll see that same zero blitz by Boston College, but I believe Tommy Rees and that offense will fix that issue and get some plays that they can check to.
Yeah, I was going to say, if, it's a copycat game, so if somebody saw Navy have success with that, Notre Dame had 12 yards of offense in the second half. What's to say every other team going forward is going to try the same thing?
Well, they will. And I think one of the biggest issue that Notre Dame has to address is just being willing to be flexible in a game. But this is tough. I mean, Navy literally went through every single blitz they could to try and throw Notre Dame off and then finally found the one. So, 1, you have to have great talent. But 2, the offense has to be prepared for that. And I'll be honest with you, Vic, not a lot of offenses in college practice for blitz zero because they want to protect those corners on the back end. But now Notre Dame has seen it all. There isn't a game they haven't won or played in, and there isn't a situation they haven't won and played in. So a tremendous amount of knowledge and learning happening for the offense, especially the offensive line.
Well, we're going to preview Notre Dame's game this week against the second choice. That's what I playfully call Boston College. That's every Notre Dame student's second choice. Sorry if you're a BC grad.
We're not sorry.
Yeah,
Vic, I got to tell you.
Yeah,
I got to tell you, too, my first ever start at Notre Dame was at BC, and I was so excited coming down this narrow hallway, forgot that they had AstroTurf on their field, tripped and fell. My first ever start, tripped and fell, so I can't stand BC either.
Well, BC is one of the few teams who I remember the 1993 season. I was back at the stadium. My wife and I went back to the Notre Dame-Florida State game. That was the game which Notre Dame knocked off Charlie Ward. So what happened after that? They lose to BC at home. And it was disastrous, right? Because here you are on your way to a national championship run, and you lose to Boston College. So I will never forget what Boston College did to my memory after grad. That they've scarred me for life. So we'll get into BC a little bit later. For now, let's take a look back at that win against Navy.
And they are bringing pressure. Pine will throw, and he completes the pass across the middle. Estime, touchdown Notre Dame. 30 yards. Pine back to pass, pressured, steps up. Pine's going to heave it deep toward the end zone, and it is caught! A Wrapped around Braden Lenzy. Somehow snagged it. What a catch. And B.D. Williams was there in the way. An incredible catch by Lenzy for a Notre Dame touchdown. How did he do it? Pine's right side. Pine back to pass, throws left flat, unguarded. That's Chris Tyree. Touchdown, Notre Dame. So now on second down, Estime spins out of a tackle. Estime 20, and he'll run right through another Navy defender all the way to the clock here. After a huge sequence, Pine, fake pitch, Pine looking to throw. Now will keep, Pine flips the tackle. No signal, touchdown. And Drew Pine, what a play by the quarterback on the move. Remarkable series of events. Pine going deep over the middle. It's caught! Touchdown! Jaden Thomas. One of the best finishes to a half for a team that I can remember. These last couple minutes for the Irish.
Hey, the Irish won. There are no ugly W's. We've been through this before. Be happy and be excited for the challenge that BC brings. To give us some insight to the defense, here comes Aiden Thomas, one man who refuses to get AirPods, so Vic Lombardi and I are each putting in $50 to see if he can get them before the bowl game. But more importantly, Aiden, welcome to the show, and give us a look at what we're looking at from a 30,000-foot view of this Boston College defense.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. It's great to be back. Last home game as a student coming up, which is pretty weird to think about. But yeah, BC comes in, another home game that Notre Dame's a big favorite in, which probably might mean that it's going to be one of the closer games we've played, because that seems to be the trend with Notre Dame. But BC comes in. They were trending about as badly as you could have until last week when they beat NC State, and their defense kind of suddenly improved. It looked a little bit better. So maybe a bit more of a dangerous opponent than people are thinking, with BC coming to town with really not too much to lose, and a couple of former Notre Dame guys on that roster. So with BC, I think the story with their defense is a lot of experience. Their depth chart starts about 6 fifth-year guys, and has a few other fifth-year players in the rotation. So not a lot of experience, a lot of depth. A lot of people have lost Notre Dame before and are going to be looking to get that win against Notre Dame. And Notre Dame's going to have to find a way to beat them. BC's been beaten a few different ways. They've had people really just tear them apart on the ground, and they've had people like teams like Wake Forest just go to work through the air. So I think there's different ways to beat BC, and it's just a matter of what Notre Dame really wants to game plan for and probably lean on their strength.
So who are a couple of the guys that Boston College has that Notre Dame needs to be aware of and fans need to be aware of as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think it starts on the defensive line for BC. They're two defensive ends. I'm going to mess up this last name a little bit, but Donovan Izaraku has 11.5 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, and Marcus Valdez, he's one of those fifth years. He's got 6.5 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. Then you pair him, you've got Elijah Jones. He's kind of their top guy in the secondary, a cornerback with a couple of interceptions, I think 12 pass breakups. So those are a few of the big names to watch out for BC. And I think in general, the defensive line is probably their strong suit, and they get a little bit weaker as you head back into the linebackers and into the secondary. And so with Notre Dame, you're going to be looking to find ways to break, get some surge on your offensive line, to get your running back some yards before, yards before contact, and then really target that second level with the intermediate passing game.
Well, all right, Aiden, this is your favorite part of the show. Put on the offensive coordinator cap and call it for Tommy Rees. What should the Irish major in to beat the defense of BC?
Major in Estime and Diggs. BC the last 2 weeks they gave up, I think, 50 yards to 3 different ball carriers against Duke, and they gave up 2 rushers of 70-plus yards against NC State last week. So major in Estime and Diggs, throw in a little bit of Tyree, get the ground game going. And then as far as the passing game goes, I think BC's weakest in the linebackers. So when I see a team that's got weak linebackers, I'm thinking Michael Mayer is going to go off. It's his last game at Notre Dame Stadium, almost certainly. So, why not give him 8, 9, 10 targets in this game? And then, if you've got that going and the run game going, I think it's going to be hard for BC to keep up offensively with the Irish.
Trying to make me cry. First you say it's your last game as a student, then Michael Mayers. What are you doing to me, Aiden? We're not going to let that go, though, Aiden. You said your final game on campus as a student. What are the kinds of things you want to get into after school in case somebody listening has a job opportunity for you, brother?
Yeah, well, been doing the Observer for all 4 years now, sports editor this past year. So definitely anything involved in sports journalism. I'm looking for opportunities right now. So keeping my eyes peeled for everything.
Well, call Aiden Thomas if you need somebody to hire. He's been great to work with. And I love your ideas of majoring in estimate and digs. By the way, Aiden, I know you know this. Notre Dame, the only Power 5 conference team with 3 backs to have over 80 carries. That's insane, and that's commitment. Thank you, Aiden.
Thanks, Ryan. Have a good one.
Next, let's hear what Marcus Freeman has to say about this week's matchup.
As we look forward to Saturday, it starts off with it being senior day here. We have 25 guys that will be recognized for their last game in Notre Dame Stadium, and so that's where a lot of the motivation and focus will be in terms of making sure we finish this home regular season off the right way for these seniors. And then we're playing a really good BC team that's coming off a huge win, and they do some really good things on film, and so we'll have to prepare and look forward to another battle here on Saturday night. So
look at what your boy just did. I've been doing this show online for about 3 years, and I just found the blur background. Mannion McGinley, look at what I did. I blurred it, so you don't know where I am.
It looks pretty good. I think it's great.
I could be anywhere in the world. You have no idea that I'm in my parents' basement right now doing this show. That's the beauty of the blur background. Where are you?
I am in the assistant managing editor's office at the Observer.
Where is the Observer located now?
Yeah, we're still in the basement of South Dining Hall. We've got the main room office, and then the managing editors and the editor-in-chief have little offices and side rooms.
So when I was there, the Observer was located, I believe, on the 3rd floor of La Fortune or the 4th floor. I can't remember. What's at La Fortune now?
I think La Fortune has a bunch of different clubs. I think SAO, the different class councils have some offices up there. Yeah.
So they stuck you guys in a dining hall?
We're in the basement of South, and we actually kind of love it. We were offered space in Duncan, but we decided to keep everything here. There's a lot of personality on these walls at this point.
Oh, I'm sure there are. All right, you're going to tell us a little bit about the Boston College offense, I presume, right? What should we know?
So this was supposed to be the game of Phil Jerkovic returning to Notre Dame Stadium, but according to head coach Jeff Hafley, Phil is out on concussion protocol and then has knee and rib injuries. So the Eagles have turned to Emmett Moorhead, who had a rocky first, when he first stepped in for Phil, he had a rocky start against Connecticut, but since then has thrown 7 touchdowns for over 660 yards combined in both of his starts, and has led the Boston College offense to a win, which is something they hadn't seen in a quick minute.
You've been there, 3 years at Notre Dame? You're a junior, correct?
I'm a senior.
Senior now?
Yes.
I should know that. It says Mannion McGinley, 23. What happened to Boston College? At some point, they were actually pretty good. Why are they so bad now?
I think they've just had a lot of movement in recent years, and I think they've been trying to sort out their quarterback situation. Phil has, he has some skill, but he's not been able to use all of his weapons properly this year. So I think with Moorhead, they've started to see that turn around a little bit, and Hafley's working with him as a young quarterback rather than having Phil come in about mid-career.
We've seen what Notre Dame has done against some of the prominent teams in college football. Give me a reason they should be worried against Boston College.
So this is the at least 4th game in a row that the Irish are going to see a quarterback that they just haven't had a lot of time with. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, Moorhead is throwing to Zay Flowers in addition to Jalen Gill and Dino Tomlin, but Flowers is all time. He holds the record for receiving yards at BC, and he's in 2nd for receiving touchdowns, as well as 3rd in receptions all time. So with all of those numbers and a quarterback that can get the ball to him, there's no question that Flowers is going to try and cause an issue for the Irish. In addition, he's backed up by George Takix, who actually left Notre Dame and has been reliable for the Eagles. He's played, while he was here, he played behind several tight ends, but there he's had 24 catches for about 240 yards. And he is still the proficient blocker Notre Dame always knew him to be. So that combination is going to be interesting this weekend.
All right, Mannion, I know you got to get off to class. What class are you going to?
I'm headed to my senior thesis preparatory class.
Senior thesis prep. I can't remember if we had that class. What is your senior thesis on?
I'm writing it on women in sports journalism and the roles that they've created for themselves.
Beautiful. How many pages does it have to be?
Between 50 and 80.
Oh, wait, no, I did a senior thesis. I mean, how quickly I forget. You know what my senior thesis at Notre Dame, I'll send it to you if you ever feel like laughing. The thesis was, what came first, Notre Dame or Notre Dame football? It seems like a dumb question, but the whole thesis was, what made Notre Dame what it is today? Was it football or was it Notre Dame?
That's
And I wrote my entire thesis on that. I'm not going to tell you what my conclusion was, but I will send it your way. Feel free to plagiarize if you don't feel like writing yours, and just take it.
Thank you, Vic. I appreciate it.
Manny. Take care.
Have a good one.
I shouldn't say that. She's going to class. I feel terrible. Anyway, let's hear from the BC head coach what he thinks of Notre Dame.
Notre Dame's another one of them. I think, what are they, 18th now? And they've really done a nice job of fighting back. Marcus has done a really good job with the slow start, some ups and downs, of pushing through, persevering, and winning some big games like the Clemson game, and then battling last week against Navy, who's a tough team. And he's done a really nice job. It's a good football team, a veteran team, especially on defense. I think on defensively, I think it's all seniors, grads, except the one. I think they have a true freshman corner playing right now. Defensive line is big and really well coached. Number 7's a good player. He's also the guy blocking all those punts. Nose guard's a good player. Linebackers are aggressive in their back end. They got a lot of experience. They play really hard. I think Al Golden's done a really good job schematically with them. They'll throw a lot at you. They'll play man. They'll play zone. They'll send 6-man pressure, 5-man pressure. They'll double people. I'm sure they'll have a plan for Zay that's a little bit different than what they've done. And then offensively, I think it starts up front. Their offensive line, again, very experienced, very big. It's the biggest offensive line that we'll have played this year. I know their quarterback's been injured, but Pine's come in, and seemed like he's got great leadership. He's a quick kid. He can make the throws. He's got a good release. He's got a strong arm. Their wide receivers are good players. I think their tight end is the best in the country and will be an extremely high draft pick. I was impressed with him as a freshman. Even more impressed with him now. He's bigger. He's stronger. He clearly has, I think, double the targets of the rest of the wideouts. You can tell him and Pine have a really strong connection. Seems to be the heartbeat of their team. And then the backs. They got 3 of them. They're big. Number 7 is enormous and runs through people, plays with passion. They're a downhill team that's been running the ball on everybody right now. And it's very evident in how they played Clemson and got after them. So a ton of respect for their staff and a ton of respect for their team.
Well, we have one of the greatest Irish players ever to come to University of Notre Dame as our guest today. Please welcome the Super Bowl champion, 17-year veteran of the NFL, insurance man of the century, and you can hear broadcasting on Compass Media. More importantly, he's one heck of a golfer. Please welcome my friend, Steve Berline. Welcome, Steve.
Yeah, most importantly, the golf. Exactly right. Yeah.
Hey, we're retired, right? We got to make sure people remember that,
I wish I could make some money playing golf. That has not happened yet. So
yeah,
thanks for having me on the show, though. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Well, before we get started, what do you got behind there? I mean, you've got such an illustrious career. What actually made the wall at Steve Berline's house?
Well, the most important one is the one right at the top there. That's Lou Holtz in his first year at Notre Dame, walking on the sideline with me. That's the only Notre Dame one I've got in this area. But I've got a little bit of Dodgers up there. I'm a big Dodgers fan and disappointed what happened last year or this past year. But I've got some Panther stuff and this is one that kind of documents my whole career from my brothers. They put that together for me. It's kind of a nice little piece, and just some little odds and ends. Little Peyton Manning and Dan Marino at the top there, and then my retirement announcement. So, a little bit of everything. There's little trinkets all over this place. So,
well, let's start with that one above your head there. You tell some of the best Coach Holtz stories, and all of you guys do. And I see we're in the Holtz's Heroes Foundation polo. It's a great foundation. You have no idea what it means for us younger players to see you guys come back to campus and celebrate each other that way. Truly the golden era in Notre Dame football. But you had a couple conversations with Lou Holtz, and one of them was about how many interceptions you would throw. I'd like you to tell that story for the people.
Well, that's the one that I think most people identify with the most, and I do use it quite a bit. But it was actually the first meeting that I had with Lou Holtz. I had never had a one-on-one with him before, and I really thought that he was going to just basically come in and say, thank you for all you've done for Notre Dame. Because I was going into my senior year, and I had a really poor year my junior year. Forget about the reasons why. I played hurt that whole season. Probably should have been redshirted, but he didn't care. I mean, he's just coming in trying to turn the program around. So I thought it was going to be thanks for all you've done, and we're moving on to a younger quarterback. And it didn't work out that way. I sat down in his office, and he looked at me and said, Steve Berline, you are going to be my quarterback at the University of Notre Dame. What do you think about that, son? And, of course, I was completely caught off guard, and I said, oh, Coach, this is amazing. I mean, this is great. He said, I'll tell you something else, Berline. We are going to throw the football more than what I feel like throwing the football normally, because we got a young man by the name of Tim Brown on the outside. He's pretty good. And you're the only guy that can get the football to him. So you get to play quarterback. And I said, Coach, this is amazing. I mean, this is awesome. And he said, we're going to throw the football, as I said, more than I'd like to. But he goes, I promise you, you will not throw more than 6 interceptions. And I said, Coach, this is like a dream come true. I'm going to play quarterback. I didn't think I was going to get a chance to play again, but you're telling me I get to play. We're going to throw the football. I'm not going to throw interceptions. How do you know all this stuff? And he looked at me and he said, well, it's very simple, Berline. As soon as you throw number 6, your butt's on the bench. You're not playing anymore. So you're done. So I got the message loud and clear that first day that he wasn't going to tolerate turning the ball over. And, you know, it paid off for me. I got the chance to redeem myself, and it worked out very well. I ended up having a chance to play in the NFL when I really didn't think there was any shot at that going into my senior year.
Well, you've had a storied NFL career. Discussions are whether or not you've had the longest career in NFL history for a Notre Dame football player. That's got to feel incredible, you know, for everything, because you don't go to set out to do that at Notre Dame. But at that quarterback position, it's so unique to me. All the hopes and dreams of fans rest on, one, you getting the snap safely, and two, you executing. What's it like to deal with that pressure? For people who are watching who may have pressure situations in their life, how did you handle the pressure of being a quarterback at Notre Dame and in the NFL?
Well, it's pretty simple, really. And you know how this is, Ryan. You played a long time at a very high level, obviously. And if you can't handle the pressure, you don't get to play. And so, I mean, that's just the bottom line. They weed you out very quickly if you can't handle being in that position and the stresses and demands of playing quarterback. But there's really, I don't really think it's something you can be taught. I think it's something you either have to have inside of you, the ability to just slow things down and process things without getting rattled. Because as you know, there's a lot of things going on the football field that everybody has to process, but the quarterback more so than everybody else, because you're concerned about protection, you're concerned about numbers. You know, if we can run a run play to one side or the other, you're concerned about everything the defense is doing. Were they blitzing? Are they playing zone? If they are playing zone, what kind of zone? And all these different things, you have to be able to process very clearly what's going on in a very short amount of time. So even though things are really rushed and kind of hectic around you, you've got to be able to slow things down and think clearly, because that ball is going to be in your hands in just a few seconds. And the success or failure of a play really determines on whether you make the right decision. Everybody else, of course, has to do their jobs for a play to work, but the quarterback has to make the decision on who's getting that football, where it's going. And that's a lot of pressure. I just always felt very comfortable in that role. It wasn't something that I consciously, said, I'm going to do this to get better at this. Obviously, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and you have to work at your craft, and you've got to study, and you've got to be able to process things. But I just was very fortunate that I was given those abilities and stayed healthy enough to be able to last a long time in the NFL, and made a few plays here and there, and it worked out well for me.
So did you use breathing techniques? Did you say something to yourself to slow it down? I mean, what tools did you use?
I prayed a lot.
Nice.
I actually did. I mean, I had my little routine that I went through before every game. There were prayers involved, and every time, before the game started, I'd say my quick little prayer in my head just to make sure that I was right with the man upstairs and that my focus was where I wanted it to be. But really, confidence is something that your teammates can sense and you can feel, and you can tell a lot of stories, I'm sure, about quarterbacks you played with, both sides of that coin, where they step in the huddle, you look them in the eye, and you can tell whether that guy's ready to play or whether he's a little bit, got that deer in the headlights look and he's a little bit overwhelmed. And so for me, it was all about just pumping myself up before the game and saying, you got this. You're the man. You can do this. And then being able to translate that to my teammates in the huddle, to go in there and look them in the eye and say, all right, now we go. Let's go. There is no question about what's going to happen on this drive. We are going, and we're going to take it down the field, and we're going to put it in the end zone. And, that's something that again, you either have that presence and that ability or you don't. And fortunately for me, that was what I lacked, maybe physically or athletically, in terms of being mobile and being able to do some of the things that some of these quarterbacks do, especially today. You make up for it in other ways. And I made up for it with my decision-making, I think, and my leadership.
Well, I'll tell you what, you bring up being in the huddle with a quarterback. One of the greatest compliments I ever got. You tell me if this is good. One of my quarterbacks said, I can always look at you in the huddle because if I'm not calm, I'll calm down too. And I know you're waiting for me to lead. And I was like, wow, man, I was just trying to not breathe hard on you in the huddle. You know what I'm saying? But you had a storied career at Notre Dame, went through coaching changes. What's the number one thing you take from your experience at Notre Dame that made you successful then in the NFL?
Man, I think the thing that if I were to really put my finger on one thing, and it doesn't always have to be a positive, that you draw your I think that you draw your strongest character traits. I think, in fact, a lot of it comes from how you deal with adversity, and that's really all that we had my whole career at Notre Dame. We never really lived up to expectations with Jerry Faust my first 3 years, and I told you earlier that I played my junior year with an injury that I never should have even been on the field that year. And just dealing with all of those setbacks and all those disappointments during the course of my career. And then Lou Holtz coming in, and the expectations were there. And we were so close to being a good team, but we just didn't quite know how to finish off games his first year there. And, just dealing with all those different scenarios and different situations that came up, having to find a way to keep your confidence and keep your focus, keep your belief in yourself that, hey, I still can do this if given the opportunity. And no matter how difficult the situations were throughout the rest of my NFL career, I always felt like I could find a way to pick myself back up and move on and get better and learn and come back. And when my next opportunity came, I was going to find a way to take advantage of it.
And you're talking about capability. That's the number one thing as leaders we can do, is encourage people how capable they are. And you and I know from playing, Steve, we were way more capable than we thought we were when we arrived on campus. You had to build that capability and experience it, as you said. And two more questions before we wrap up. The first one, give us a story about what it was like to be on that Super Bowl champion Dallas Cowboys team.
Well, if I knew you were going to bring that one up, I would have worn my ring. I don't have it on right now. I know you've got one of those too. And I think you probably just break it out like I do on special occasions. And it's not something that I wear around every day because everybody wants to talk about it all the time. But to be a part of that team was such an amazing experience. And, I remember, just like you do, and, whatever level you're playing at, whether it's Pee Wee, Pop Warner, or high school, college, professional, every championship is extremely meaningful. And, my high school state championship, really, to me, I take as much pride in that as I did in being a part of the Super Bowl team, because of that bond that we have with each other and what it took to win that championship and then to reach the ultimate goal of winning the championship. So the Super Bowl, of course, is the crowning achievement of anybody's football career, to be able to walk off after one of those games and know that you're going to get that ring and that you were going to be part of history forever. It's truly a special feeling. We had a special team, a great group of guys that came together and believed in each other. Were willing to lay it on the line for each other every single week. And when someone needed to be picked up or when someone needed to be straightened out, we had the leaders that would do that. And that's what made us great. And to reach that ultimate accomplishment was something that I'll never forget. And I take a lot of pride in, for sure.
Well, man, you get me teary-eyed for the second time today in the show, because you're right. I mean, you think about the teamwork. I mean, people always say, what was the best thing about winning the Super Bowl? And the first thing I always say is the team, the guys who chose, as you said, to work for one another. That's something that rarely happens, and I'm so glad we shared that experience.
Well, even just watching, Monday Night Football, when they go in the locker room and show that celebration after the game, you remember, I mean, there is nothing like being in a locker room after a win in a football game, because you literally, obviously it's figuratively, but you've been in a battle, and everybody's laying on the line, and you come in that locker room and you get that win. The significance of each one of those wins is so unbelievably powerful. But then to do that following the championship game and that celebration afterward is just, there's no way to describe it, no way to match that high that you experience.
Well, one thing I do want you to describe and to leave us today, what was your favorite touchdown that you threw of all time? We're not going to count if you ran one in. We're not counting that for you guys, you quarterbacks. But give us the play call, the situation, and what was your favorite touchdown, college or pro?
College or pro. Okay, well, I got a picture of it right here. That one right there. You can't really see it clearly, but that was really the highlight of my career. I was a quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, and we were playing Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field in 1999. And it was 4th and goal at the 5-yard line. Last play of the game, there was 5 seconds on the clock. And it was, like I said, it was a shootout. We had gone back and forth all day. Both of us had big games as far as throwing the football and touchdowns. And it came down to the last play of the game. And we were down by 4 points. And we took a timeout, of course, went to the sideline. And George Seifert, we were all sitting there trying to figure out what play to call. And it was very well known that I wasn't very mobile. And he just looked at us all through those sunglasses on a snowy day in December in Lambeau. And he said, how about the quarterback draw? And literally everybody in that huddle except me started cracking up, just laughing their butts off about, you can't be serious. Let's get the real play. And he said, I don't think they'll expect it. Let's run the quarterback draw. So you know how it is. I got to go back out on the field, and now all the linemen and everybody want to know what the play is. We're still in TV timeout. And I tell my teammates, I say, you guys aren't going to believe this, but they want to run the quarterback draw. And they busted out laughing like you wouldn't believe. They thought that was the funniest thing in the world. And I said, listen, we're going with the quarterback draw. And then they started getting mad at me. They said, tell us to play. The referee blows a whistle. The clock starts going. I said, we are running the quarterback draw. Let's get out there. Just do your job. I'll get it in the end zone. And sure enough, I took it in. I like to say I soared into the end zone for the winning touchdown on the last play of the game, but I kind of flopped in there. And the bottom line, I did get the ball across the goal line. We won the game, and it was truly the highlight of my NFL career for sure.
Unbelievable. So hard to win at Lambeau in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's Steve Berline, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in Notre Dame history. Thanks for joining us, brother.
Oh, you're too kind. I appreciate it, Ryan, though. Good luck to you, man.
Go Irish.
Go Irish.
Next up, it's Vic's Picks, your chance to beat Vic Lombardi.
All right, you guys want some of this now? You think you can handle Vic's Picks? This is your opportunity to win a Here Come the Irish hoodie. All you have to do is pick better than me, and that is this week's game. If you can pick the winner, you can pick the point spread, whether they beat it or not, total yards just for fun, then you win one of those authentic Here Come the Irish hoodies. Let's begin this week. Representing the Rockney Athletics Fund, Dale Frank, class of 84 from McDonald, Ohio. Dale, how you doing, buddy? Yeah. I'm great. Man, you look nice and toasty in that lid. How often
I'll tell you what, it's cold here. 34 and snowing.
Well, it's cold here. It snowed in Denver this morning, so I feel your pain. How often do you get back to South Bend for games, Dale?
Once or twice a year. Both my boys went there, so it's a nice opportunity. And they live one in Houston. A nice opportunity to have a little family reunion at those games.
Well, good for you. I'm glad your boys got to experience what you experienced. All right, let's get to it right now, my friend. Who do you like this week? Give us your numbers.
Well, I like Notre Dame to win. How will they play? I think they're only going to win 31-21. 370 yards total offense. I think a lot of running, given the weather, probably not a lot of passing yards. But I think it's going to be a good win for the Irish getting ready for USC next week.
Dale, I think you're cheating off my sheet here because you're very similar to the numbers I came up with, which I'll unveil a little bit later. Stay warm, my friend. We'll talk to you later. Good luck. Representing the O'Hara Society from Commerce Township, Michigan, class of 07, say hello to Cheryl Horvath. Hey, Cheryl.
How you doing, Vic?
Good. How are you doing?
I can't complain one bit. Looking for an Irish victory this weekend.
Where are you talking to us from? Are you at work right now? Give us your background.
I am. I'm at work right now. So I was born and raised in South Bend, Indiana. I was able and fortunate to get my executive MBA from there in 07. And I work for Ford Motor Company for the moment. So, here in Cincinnati, and can't wait to get back on campus for the game this weekend.
That's awesome. All your work colleagues right now are saying, hey, can you keep it down? Enough about Notre Dame right now. We're trying to work. Anyway, Cheryl, give us your picks this week. Tell us what you think.
All right. So I think the Irish are going to win. We're not going to cover the spread. It's a little scary this year. I think it's going to be 34-17. And I think we're going to be right around our average of 395 yards of offense this game.
My goodness, Cheryl, you guys have the same picks I have right now. I almost don't want to give my pick because you've given it away. Cheryl, good stuff. You're on something right now.
I want that sweatshirt.
If you want it bad enough, you can always buy one, just so you know. Thanks, Cheryl. I appreciate it. We'll see you next week. You're going to win. Representing the congregation of Holy Cross, let's welcome in from the class of 06, Father Pete McCormick. Father, how we doing, my friend?
I'm good, Vic. How about yourself?
You're looking great, dude. That office looks spacious right now.
Hey, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
I want you to know, man, I'm 0 for 2 on this show, and I'm really hoping that a third time's a charm. So,
well, I intimidate you. I understand that. I get this. I'd say I do that to a lot of people. Father Pete, I got to share the story with you because I'm doing this show today from my parents' basement, literally. And when I attended Notre Dame, I made the trip out there in 1988. And I told my mom and dad I wanted to go to Notre Dame. And my mom goes to mass every day. And she thought it was a seminary. And she thought I was becoming a seminarian. So she literally thought I was going to join the priesthood. Do you know how upset she was upon graduation that I was not a priest officially?
Yeah, that probably was an interesting conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it took a while to convince her that that's not what I came to Notre Dame for. But anyway, when did you know? Just curious, when did you know you wanted to be a priest?
Man, it was kind of the road was up and down and winding, but sophomore year is when it started.
Interesting. So sophomore year, you said I'm going to follow something, and I'm going to follow it all the way to the very end. And what did you do from there? How did the process work?
Yeah, I pretty much sat it on the shelf for the better part of the rest of my high school career and then also college, and got to the end of college and thought to myself, I was doing a victory tour. It was my 5th year in college, and my parents were like, hey, you got to make a decision some way, somehow. And ultimately it got to the point, the thing that I had thought back about all the way back to sophomore year. It's crazy how it worked out. I went, tried out the seminary, and had this amazing sense of peace. Like the thing I'd been looking for all those years was right there before me. And so just a reminder that God had a little bit of a better insight than I did.
That is outstanding. I should introduce you to my mother, but she would love you more than she loves me. So all right, Father Pete, what do you got this week?
All right, here's my deal. I'm feeling, and you can see it on the board here. We're not going to make the spread. It's going to be a ground and pound kind of game. Like The Irish have this new look offense, and I don't see us putting a ton of points on the board, but certainly making sure that we take care of Boston College and send them home to the East Coast.
Well, you, like the other pickers so far, all say you're going to win the game without beating the spread. So I don't disagree. Father Pete, let's hope the third time's a charm, okay?
Please. I need that hoodie.
All right, buddy. Take care, man. Nice talking to you.
Peace. See you,
We
Vic.
will stick with the congregation of Holy Cross and now go to a seminarian there from the class of 19. Let's bring in Johnny Ryan. What do you say, Johnny?
How's it going, Vic? It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm doing great. I'll ask you the same question I asked Father Pete. When did you know that you wanted to go into the priesthood?
Yeah, it was something I was, thinking about a little bit in high school. Had a really great priest mentor in high school that I kind of was interested in, but it was coming to Notre Dame as a freshman, and then just getting to Holy Cross. Kind of what Father Pete said, right? That sense of peace, that sense of home and belonging. That was just a great gift, just a great, really attractive, something that I wanted in my life, and so kind of pursued that.
Good for you. How would you describe your Notre Dame experience while you were there?
Yeah, so I came in freshman year. I lived in St. Edward's Hall with the gentleman, loved it there. But then moved into the undergraduate seminary in Old College my junior year. It was a great place to really be able to listen to God's voice in my life, but then also to have some great friends, great experiences on campus with so many wonderful people. Really, really grateful for it.
Well, the way I evaluate priests is how well they know football. So that's all that matters to me, Johnny.
Great.
So, tell me what you got this week.
Yeah, as someone from Boston, someone from the East Coast, I always love beating BC. They're coming off a great game off NC State, a heck of a win there. So I think Notre Dame's gonna have something to handle with. We're gonna have to deal with kind of they're feeling too big in a way. So close game, 27-14, won't cover the spread. I think ground and pound, we got to establish the run with our three backs, just run it down their throat. I think we put up a good number of yards, maybe 400. That might be a little on the high side, but we'll see.
Ground and pound. That's been the Irish theme this year so far.
Exactly, yeah.
Love the pick. Thanks, Johnny. Good luck to you, my man.
Thank you, Vic. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Our final contestant representing the Soren Society, Rob Shelley from Los Angeles, class of 05. Rob, everybody else we've had on this panel is stuck inside because it's snowing outside. What's the weather right now in LA?
It's a horribly, terribly cold day here. It's barely going to get into the high 60s. And so just pray for us if you can.
What brought you to Los Angeles?
My work. I've been working in film and TV ever since I graduated, and I work for Fox Sports right now.
Oh, you do? Oh, we're in the same
sir.
business.
There we go.
What do you do for Fox Sports?
I work in the marketing department for Fox and FS1.
What did you do at Notre Dame to prepare you for that job? Did you know you wanted to go into sports broadcasting in some form?
I knew I wanted to work in television, at least in some form. I was a FTT, film, television, and theater major when I was an undergrad from 01 to 05, and just kind of moved out here on a wing and a prayer and kind of navigated my way from one thing to another and wound up at Fox Sports and carved out a little career here and really loving it.
That's so good. I'm so glad that I can inspire Notre Dame's youth into the broadcasting profession.
That's right. That's right.
It's wonderful to hear, Rob. All right, so you got an advantage. You're in the business. You know how this stuff works. Give us your numbers for this week.
That's right. And I'm following two priests here, so I gotta make that count. Not often in life you got to do that. I got to make my mom proud here. So I do pick the Irish to win. When I was an undergrad, we lost to them 4 consecutive years. So I'll never voluntarily predict that Notre Dame will lose to Boston College. As far as the spread, I think the Irish can get into the end zone 4 or 5 times, but I would think if we're up in the fourth quarter, maybe slowing the game down a bit. Hopefully, with it being senior day, some of the seniors and walk-ons can get a few snaps, and maybe that leaves the door open for the backdoor cover, and maybe BC gets a late touchdown to cover the spread, and maybe Phil Jurkovec ends up getting the last touchdown at Notre Dame Stadium this year. Who knows? As for the total yards, I went with 322. It's a little less than our output against Clemson, and more importantly, that was my room number for my dorm my last year that I was on campus in Knott Hall. 322.
Needless to say, are you going to the Notre Dame SC game?
Yes, sir. I'll be there.
You got to go there. Hey, say hello to my buddies Brady Quinn and Joel Klatt. I used to work with Joel here in Denver. Good guys for Fox Sports.
You got it.
All right, Rob. Thanks, man. Good luck, buddy.
All right, take care. Go Irish.
All right, let's see who picks the winners and see if you can pick better than I can. Last week, by the way, we did have a winner last week, Chris Tinsel. Good job, Chris. You win yourself a Here Come the Irish hoodie. I, this week, like all of our contestants, think it'll be a closer game than the point spread indicates. I think it'll be one of those yuck it up games. Do I think the Irish will win? Yes. Do I think they'll cover by 21? No. It'll be 34-17. They'll produce a lot of yards, but getting in the red zone might be tougher to put it in the end zone. But yes, Notre Dame wins. It's Boston College. You can't lose to BC. Before we welcome back Mr. Harris, let's take a quick look at the Clemson game again. I could never see it enough. Notre Dame blowing out Clemson.
Challenge everything you've done to this point. Do it better than you ever have. Unit strength, do it with your brothers, man. Do it for him, no matter how hard it is. Competitive spirit. The man that wins the one-on-one battle will be victorious.
Can the Irish pull off the upset once again tonight? Notre Dame has been very good at getting a hand on these punts.
They're rattled! They're rattled! Call right now.
And this one is blocked once again, and the Irish have it. Botello gets a hand on it, and into the end zone goes.
There's your game-changing play, Jack. This place is about to erupt. A big takeaway early is the corners of Notre Dame shutting down the perimeter game of Clemson.
Clemson 0 for 3 on third down. Notre Dame showing pressure, and that pressure gets home. It's Howard Cross.
Downhill running game. Run north and south at this defense. It's been the best play for Notre Dame all night long. And
Pine is going to keep it himself around the outside. Touchdown, Notre Dame. Michael Mayer through the block. This is a monster game for Clemson. Their national championship hopes, playoff hopes.
No mercy, we got a lot of ball left. Let's go. It's our house.
Pressure gets there. Isaiah Foskey drops him from behind.
Clemson needs to reset.
14-0.
We continue to run it at them. We're going to do it for the whole second half. They don't want that style of game, but we have to go take it. We're going to come out and go even harder. We don't have to take it away yet. We keep going. Endless urgency in everything we do. We won't stop. We won't stop until they say the game's over.
The energy for this Irish defense has been infectious.
Benjamin Morrison up to meet him. Benjamin Morrison having himself a game.
Seatbelt. Get the ball. Do your job. Hey, attack on two, 1, 2.
Pressure in his face, has to just throw this ball, and it's intercepted. Picked off by Benjamin Morrison.
Where did he come from?
Having the game of his life.
Let's go.
Audric Estime in for the Notre Dame touchdown. Clemson has found ways to win all season long, down 21, fourth quarter.
This is where you really show where you're at. How you handle this one right now?
DJ is picked off, intercepted again by Benjamin Morrison. Here goes Morrison down the sideline. Can he go? Yes, he can. Touchdown, pick six, Benjamin Morrison.
He's a freshman.
Notre Dame playing by far their best game all season long.
Let's go, boys. Let's put them away.
Come off the ball, hit them in the mouth, bloody their nose. Notre Dame offensive line's been doing it all game.
They're going to move those chains. They can't stop Estime. Here's Pine to the air. Wide open is Michael Mayer for the touchdown.
Great job.
There's one more record that Michael Mayer now owns all by himself. Touchdowns by a tight end.
Hey, you caught that? Pop the mic. He was like, are you serious? I said, let's do it. Drew looked over the side. Are you sure? That's a great moment to get in.
They physically dominated Clemson. They've been the better team since the opening kickoff.
The Irish are in victory formation.
What a night for Marcus Freeman and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
said in the locker room, nobody but the guys in that locker room knew how good this group can be, right? Now the whole damn country knows how good.
Hey, by the way, Ryan, I want to tell you that interview with Steve Berline was tremendous. I knew Steve. I worked in Austin, Texas, covered the Cowboys when he played for the Cowboys. And then, of course, when he stopped here with a stint in Denver for the Broncos. So I met him twice during his NFL career. He's such a good dude. So good stuff with Steve.
Man, the first time I met him, I was like, you never really know with quarterbacks, and especially one with a storied career like his. Couldn't have been a nicer guy and a heck of a golfer, too. So if you need an extra, Vic, go ahead and give Berline a call.
I played golf with him many times, and he's taken a ton of my money, so you don't need to. Can you please give us your keys to victory this weekend against Boston College?
Keys to victory, number one, pick up the blitz offensively. It's going to come. It's something that the offensive line has struggled with at times, but you're going to see multiple blitzes because you're going against a desperate team who can make it season by beating Notre Dame at Notre Dame. And number two, defensively, prevent the big play. There were a couple of big plays, whether it was Navy, North Carolina, Stanford. If Notre Dame can prevent those big plays defensively, it should be an easy night for the Irish to grab that W. And lastly, cut down on the penalties. It's been an issue, something you can prevent, and something that with the talent that Notre Dame has, it's time to practice a clean game before then traveling to USC.
Yeah, you're right. You can't look past BC to USC. Very important because BC can bite you. Ryan, thank you for everything, my man, and look forward to doing this again next week.
Go Irish.
All right. Before we say goodbye, one quick experience with the one and only Notre Dame marching band.